Good Tuesday evening to you. I was trying to do something else and I completely forgot to hit that button. And welcome into another episode of the Parking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Casey Kitterman, and Nick Carnes down below, also my mustache. Welcome in. We're brought to you as always by our friends over at SeatGeek. If you want to get some tickets for whatever it is that you want to get tickets for, the Cavs, yeah, because like they, or if you want to get tickets to the 12-1 Chiefs game. Yeah, I hear it's happening in town. I hear it's happening in Cleveland. If you want to do that, go over to SeatGeek. Use our promo code BarkingBrowns, all one word, all capital. Get $20 off your first purchase. If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Give us that thumbs up, gentlemen. How are we?
Dead ass tired, just demoralized and crushed. Everybody out there, if you have a home and you have a mailbox, and you see your postal worker, thank them at some point in the next 2 weeks, because it is not easy right now. Yeah. Everybody's ordering everything. It's dark when I go to work. It's dark when I get home. It's so for that alone. I don't like wishing time away because time is the one thing we have. But like these next 2 weeks are going to suck. So just trying to get through it. And luckily, I got the Browns. To keep my spirits up and get me through these difficult times.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
We got Jerry Jeudy to get us through these difficult times, but the team itself is lagging behind a little bit. So I brought some beer along, and just a thought about the whole SeatGeek ticket purchase. Your time is now limited to go to Cleveland Brown Huntington Bank Field Stadium.
Yeah, no, it's Field because Stadium is somewhere else.
Yeah, your time is now limited to go to Huntington Bank Field because we got some new stadium plans today. And I know you probably didn't expect me to start with that, but I'm just saying that I saw that the Haslams have hired the same people that helped build Jerry World. So they went after the best and they got that's no surprise. Sometimes it's easy to forget that the Haslams are good at some of this with team being 3-10, but I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to build a masterpiece over there in Brook Park. So that's pretty exciting.
I get zero sugar ginger ale.
Hey man, so we're trying to start with something fun, right?
That's what we're doing on a Tuesday.
Right.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
What?
Bring back the Vine. What?
Wednesday?
No. God, right over your head. Anyway, it was a Vine joke. Nobody? Bueller? All right.
I never did any Vine.
Yeah, I get the Bueller part.
Yeah,
but not the joke
that part.
Vines.
Yeah. Is it just me or did it seem like the last thing the Browns were really fighting for this year was the sweep of the Steelers? Like, do you guys feel that? Because that's kind of where my thoughts and my feelings come, where maybe they're a little stronger than they should be. But to me, it's like when they lose to the Steelers, it's kind of like, okay, the season's over. Like we're 3-10. There's nothing that I'm really like, there's nothing that I'm going to get amped over that they're probably going to put on the field for the last stretch here. It was like sweep the Steelers. And that would be something to like really hold on to. I know it's probably trivial, but to me, it was, in a lost season, it's something that could like, you could have a little fun with.
That was one of the things I was holding on to, but it's also for me finishing above 500 in the division. I think that's a benchmark is still here, but like at the end of the day, man, if you're not going to make the dance, you're actually mathematically eliminated now. Let's tip over some fucking apple carts on our way out. Let's ruin some other people's days. But at the end of the day, like it's no matter what happens, even if you finish 4-2 and you beat Cincy in a couple weeks, you beat Baltimore at the end. Who knows what they're playing for? And you finish 4-2 in the division. That in one side you're like, okay, you're showing that you're competitive inside your division, but the overall record's so disappointing from where our expectations were. It's still going to ring kind of hollow.
I'm going to start my portion of the show with just patting myself on the back because it's what I do. No. Let me ask you something. Do you know who the highest graded player in the NFL in week 14 was?
I do.
Is it Isaiah McGuire?
It is Isaiah McGuire. Isaiah McGuire. I said that. No, I didn't say he'd be that good. No, but like Isaiah McGuire, like if you're trying to find some solace, if you're trying to find some things that are good about this season, you look at Isaiah McGuire, who the injury to Alex Wright, the trade of Zadarius Smith, this was a guy, he just wasn't, he really hadn't, did he see the field much as a rookie? Do you remember?
No.
I don't
it was at
recall.
the very end of the year. He saw some snaps, but no.
Yeah, you just got
He played
like
a lot in the Cincinnati game to end the season.
Oh, right. Yeah, the game that didn't. Yeah, I remember that now. But, he gets out there and you're like, if you're trying to find something out of a lost season, it's like, let's see these young players, these guys that we know are going to be on the roster in 25, because there's a lot of guys out there that are just not going to be on the roster in 25. Like quite a few of them, probably quite a few more than you think. But you kind of got to try to, find the victories where you can find them and that sort of thing. And you say, well, okay, we've got young pieces. You've got Isaiah McGuire. Jerry Jeudy's really had a great, because I know it wasn't what he had done the last couple of games, but he still had a pretty good game, and he'd scored a touchdown and got wide open again on a seam route. Just shows that this burst and its speed and all that good stuff, it's there for a really good wide receiver. He has that up, who's really freaking good, who wait, did TJ Watt miss both games against the Browns this year?
Good question. How did the stat sheet look?
Oh, no. It was just Jack Conklin shut him down twice. Nice. All right. So, okay.
That's really good. It's really impressive that he's been able to battle back from injury like that. I think collective opinion on him was pretty low.
Yeah, though, I will say this. I will give Browns fans credit where credit is due. Everything I ever heard about Jack Conklin was, hey, he's great when he's out there. I think most people would collectively have said that at any point in the offseason was like, I don't want to hang my hat on him because, and the injury did bleed into this year. We saw that kind of thing. And you say, oh, now he's back out there. He's been healthy since he got out there. He shut down TJ Watt in 2 games. He's probably the only starting offensive lineman right now that I want back. Wyatt Teller's been all right. But I'm just saying, you start looking across those things and trying to figure out where are the holes, what can we take, what can we roll over, and Isaiah McGuire, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman before he goes down, Jack Conklin bouncing back. Nick Chubb got in the open field, got almost a 20-yard run there, a 19-yarder, looked pretty good, doing some cutbacks and a little bit of burst. It's still not all the way there in my opinion, but I don't know. There's some small things you can take from what has been a disaster of a season that you at least can take something from, I guess.
Sounds like Jacob's been reading my stock report.
Ooh.
Perhaps.
The Isaiah McGuire one, I really think that what he's really proven to be is that complement to Myles Garrett, that the edge setter is stiff against the run. And in my opinion, that's where he excels, is the play, the actual play where the Browns are down 14-27. There's just under 5 minutes to go, and you need something. The defense needs a turnover, and Arthur Smith gets a little cutesy and puts Cordero Patterson in, and they run right at Isaiah McGuire. And it's a play where like he stands up Pat Freiermuth, and then Zach Frazier pulls. He holds his ground, gets his hand on the ball, dislodges it. Of course, Myles gets it, but to me that encapsulates like what he's been as an edge setter. Like that it was nasty work, and he earned that 93.7 from PFF. That was a phenomenal performance. And it's something. Now, I'm also not of the camp, like I still think you need to draft a guy, but between McGuire and Wright, and you go get another young body to pair with Myles, and Obo is a rotational guy, and you still feel really good about that room. But Isaiah is kind of putting the pressure on Alex right now. When he gets back, he's got to ball out, or he'll be the odd man out contract wise. Because next year will be his last year under contract. He'll be entering under his last year. So, but that's what happens. That's what competition does, So I'm really pleased with what McGuire's been able to turn in. He had 32 snaps. I want to see that keep increasing. The number's kind of been around there, 29, 31, 33, 32 last 4 weeks. I want to see that keep inching up to see if he can handle a bigger workload because he's been phenomenal when he's been on the field. The Nick Chubb thing was interesting because it's always the year after the year, you know what I mean, where a guy fully bounces back from an injury like that. And I just hope that he's able to keep the same workload up, nothing crazy, but get to the offseason healthy so we can have a full offseason of being Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
We can, and hopefully they income for a 2-year deal, and we get to see what that looks like on the other side. And Ford showed pretty good vision on Sunday. Like it's something that he's kind of been lacking in. But there were several times where he made some heads-up plays. And I think you need to add another guy to that room as well, and this is a phenomenal draft to do it in. But there are bright spots. That's the thing that'll get lost in 3 and 10 because it's just so overwhelming to be that far from your goal. But when you look at Jack Conklin battling back, and he's under contract next year, we'll see if they try to rework his deal, but he's under contract, But it's the Jerry Jeudy thing's been very encouraging. But I'm in the same camp with the Isaiah McGuire thing. I still go get a guy. I still just keep adding to that room. But he is a very, very impressive piece. I will say this. The thing that I'm most thankful for is that the Kadarius Toney era is essentially over.
That's
I was very busy at work today. We're working at a facility that hasn't had inspections done on their bleachers like ever, and you can tell. So I was very not online or anything like that today because we've got 3 days to get a lot done, and it's like, so we're trying to get this done. But I did see the ESPN blurb come out, that Toney was gone amongst all the other moves. And I just knew. I was like, Twitter has got to be having just a fantastic time right now because in full transparency, I turned the game off to start the fourth quarter. I was done. I was done letting this team steal my joy. I've since seen it, but originally didn't know about the muffed punt or the taunting. I did not know either one of those things happened until after the fact. Because I got on Twitter and I was like, what is going on? What did Toney do? Like, I had no idea.
You got to be wired a special type of way to get on the field for like a few plays and be taunting when you finally get back out there on your
third team. He doesn't know what he did. Did you see the post-game interview? Because that's what I saw first was him in the post-game, and he was like, I didn't even know they called the flag till I was on the sideline. I'm like, what's he talking? Like, because I hadn't seen it at that point. And I was like, what in the hell is he talking about? I'm like, okay, come on.
You could argue that it's a ticky-tack foul, but you can't, in that moment, you can't you're jawing with the guy and then you throw the ball in his direction as you're running off the field.
Yeah.
Which is something that is specifically outlined that you can't do.
The negative, so he played 4 plays on offense. He returned punts. He returned 4 punts and averaged 11 yards per return. So when he actually returned the punts, it was okay. Showed a couple spin moves. He shows the short area quickness and elusiveness that makes you think because his athletic traits are what got him drafted in the first round.
Right.
But it's almost like he's like a double agent working against you. So in his 4 plays on offense, the only thing he did on offense was not get lined up correctly in time and cost you 5 yards there. Big surprise. It's not like he's not done that every year. But then so he returns the 4 punts. They're okay. He fair catches 1, gets the taunting call, and then in a high leverage moment when you're not out of it, miraculously, Pittsburgh tried to keep you in this game. And all you had to do was field the damn thing. And I said it out loud. I was like, just field it. I don't get and sure enough, it's on the carpet. It's like, so you're on the field for, I think, 11 total plays. and I got 3 huge negatives out of it, you know? So props to them for like, because if what's one thing, if you were to like list a characteristic that you need to have out of your punt returner, I would put dependability like number one. Do you get like field the fucking ball, man?
Yep.
And if your punt returner does not have any dependability, you got to go. So he's gone. I don't know whose decision it was to have him returning, but that shit needs to be evaluated, man. I was glad that's
just talking enough about this. Bubba Ventrone hire was supposed to be a home run, and it's been a nightmare.
Well, so a couple of things. Number one, you cannot turn the ball over. Like special teams has been so bad. Like your quarterback is giving the ball away like hotcakes. You can't turn the ball over on special teams. You can't. You'll never survive it with the way that things are going right now with James. And it's just a roller coaster. It's a hell of a roller coaster. But yeah, remember when one thing first. I love playing this game on Twitter. Fantasy football does this all the time. Kadarius Toney is the Kenny Britt of Antonio Brown's. That's
oh God. No, yeah,
it checks out.
That does check out, yeah. This is what we're doing, boys. This is
well, I'll tell you, to build off what you were saying, we'll get to Dustin Hopkins, but remember when Bubba Ventrone had to be given whatever special assistant head coach title or whatever, just to like get him to come to Cleveland? Or like
because he was already a coordinator and they had to give him like the assistant head coach monitor.
Fast track to be a head coach, all that stuff. And now you're looking at the special teams and they're just hot dog water on all ends. And it's like the Fruit Loop dog experience all over again. That's a deep cut if you know. And
everybody should know. I told the story.
Yeah, because Casey, Jacob and I were talking about this last week. We were looking like forward into the future, and what we were questioning is like, should Jim Schwartz be back? But I think as we're going on in the tail end of the season, I would ask, not only should Jim Schwartz be back, but should Bubba Ventrone be back?
Yeah. So where do you sit on those two items, those two action items?
Yeah, those are great questions. The one, man, I'm just going to be real.
Yeah.
Special teams coordinator is nothing but he's a glue guy. He's got to talk to everyone on the team. He's got to get superstars to buy in to doing shit that they probably haven't done since high school, you know. But at the end of the day, he's not coaching Dustin Hopkins how to kick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those guys either have those skills or they do not. So like it's inconsequential. Like I'm not like replace him with whatever. What does that do? Defensive coordinator is different. And there's been a lot of regression on the defense. And if we're just going to take the Steelers game by itself, put it in a lens. When you're going up against a quarterback, now there's so many different types of quarterbacks across the league. There are guys who are B pluses at everything with no major glaring weaknesses. And, you know, you have to play them kind of even. There are some that are very skill specific and have deficiencies, and you got to make them play in those deficiencies. Well, Russ is in that bucket for me. I'm not saying Russ is a bad quarterback, but there's things Russ can't do well. Yeah. Russ is just not going to throw over the middle of the fucking field. What's he going to do? He's going to paint the sidelines. Mm-hmm. And so it's like if my number one objective is if I'm playing a Russell Wilson team is I'm maintaining outside leverage with my cornerbacks. Like I'm funneling everything to the middle of the field. And if he beats me doing what he's not good at, that's good for him. Yeah, but I'm not going to let him beat me doing what he's great at. And what did he do? There's little 20-yard law passes, right? They were basically handoffs.
You don't even have Pickens. You don't have Pickens.
Do you know what it reminded me of? And you guys are you're gonna just shit yourself. Do you remember when Duck Hodges would just throw it straight up in the air and they would just catch every one of them? Like that game, I cannot every time Duck Hodges threw the ball, I'm like picked off. It's got to be because he was throwing ducks 30 yards and that being said, Russell Wilson still throws a much better deep ball than Duck Hodges. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he wasn't throwing darts all the time. He was just throwing them up and putting them where they needed to go because he knew his guy's going to make a play. He knew Mike Williams was going to push off, sometimes get called for it, sometimes not, and that they were just going to go up and get the play, and they were just going to want it more than the Browns, and in that they were going to play they were going to let them have the sideline, and then I'm like, he does two things right now, and he does them very well: checkdowns and moonballs. He does those both of those things very well.
And he'll dirt it. He's not afraid just to dirt it. If it's not there, he's not going to.
He's not Jameis.
Yeah, James ain't dirt and shit.
If Jameis dirted a throw, I would be like, oh my God, that's the greatest play he's ever made.
No,
but
it wouldn't hurt so bad. It wouldn't hurt so bad if Jim Schwartz didn't spend the offseason and preseason talking about adding a change up and being flexible and like really beating the allegations of like the criticisms that he previously had. Right.
Yeah.
And so
that
Jacob
showed up at the end of last year and got your ass kicked in the playoffs because you couldn't adjust.
And where are you now? It's just
getting your ass kicked
without George Pickens. We just have to talk about that. Who do the Steelers have? Because we know
I don't know who that is.
I don't even know who that is.
That's the thing. I was like, is Calvin Austin going to be? Which I mean, to his credit, he did. Caught 2 touchdowns the last time the Browns played. So maybe he's
Calvin Austin is like a sneaky contributor where it's like you may not be like, oh, Calvin Austin, but you got to know where he's at because like he'll sneak up and score a touchdown on you when you're not looking.
Sneaky Scotty Miller. Again, sneaky.
Well,
like that's the thing.
That's the sneaky one. Yeah.
The Steelers draft Roman Wilson in the 3rd round, right? He's on IR. Okay, they definitely were hoping that he would give them some contribution this year. Then on top of that, George Pickens is the chief moonball catcher there is, right? It's like the Steelers have had that receiver that just has done that exact thing. Like they had people believing Chase Claypool was a real receiver and got a 2nd round pick for him. You know, they just have these moonball quarterbacks and they just make it work all the time. And it's it's so frustrating because I'm like, George Pickens house, that's a huge blow to the Steelers offense, right? Or it should be.
That's
right?
what I thought. That's what I thought going into it.
Like I know Jameis turned it over, but it just they moved the ball like they were just fine. And it's like they're down their top two receivers they planned on having this year. So Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller are the guys beating you. That's what you got. That's what Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, who is now on IR, and Martin Emerson are getting cooked by.
And I refuse to think Martin Emerson can't play. I think we keep seeing him get put on wide receivers he has no business being put on. And that's another issue I have with Jim Schwartz.
You can only hide someone but so much on an NFL field, man.
No, I know that, but like why was he covering Cortland Sutton at all 2 weeks ago? Like he gets burned on the one play. They run the same play, and Jim's like, you know what? I'm going to do it again. It's like, no, put Denzel on him. What are you doing?
That's the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen, by the way, that they run that play. Sutton's wide open. He drops it or whatever happens. And so we get really lucky. And they're like, that works so well. We're going to do the exact same thing. Could it be more disrespectful than literally running the exact same play twice in a row?
I want to ask you a question because I've gone through a range of emotions where like I thought about this last night. I was like trying to think of some of the things I was going to say tonight. And I'm like, I don't even know if I like football anymore.
Sorry.
Like these motherfuckers. I had that moment. I had that come to Jesus moment yesterday because of these sons of bitches. But I don't like to be the guy that flip-flops, goes back and forth, or makes this big overarching sweeping declaration on one game. I was talking with Quincy Carrier on his Quincy Carrier Live, his OBR show last night. And because we do this with draft picks, like especially quarterbacks. If a quarterback goes out there like Drew Aller. I like Drew Aller. Drew Aller played really well against Oregon this past weekend. All of a sudden, he's a first-round pick. Now, if he goes out there and plays really bad in 2 weeks, they're going to be like, hey, he's undraftable. So like, because that happens so much when it comes to prospects. Cause like, I'll be like, hey, look at this guy. Like, you should take him in the top 10. They'll be like, oh, he had no catches or he had like 12 yards last week. And it's like, okay, he's got 1,800 yards right now. What are we doing? Like what you get what I'm saying is I don't like to do this.
Prisoner of the moment.
I try very hard not to do that when it comes to the overall direction of a franchise, because I know it's I know the issue was pulling the plug and freaking out and being reactionary and never giving anybody a chance to really set roots and do something in Cleveland, and that was a problem. But I have a hard time running this shit back.
But when you say that, like, what do you mean? Like with every single person?
Yes.
Like, of course.
No, I know. But what I'm talking about is like, so.
Like, are you firing Andrew Berry?
I think I fire everybody. I have a hard time not wanting to do that. I'm not saying it's the right move. I'm not saying I'm not being a prisoner in the moment. I'm trying not to. And the best thing about it is we'll all get the whole season, and once the season's over, and then you get a chance to kind of think about it when you're not reacting to things. You're just reacting to the whole body of work. But you talk about Jim Schwartz and the issues you have with Jim Schwartz, the issues I have with Bubba Ventrone. And then I start saying, well, if you keep Kevin and you change coaches, how do I know he's going to get it right? Because his first defensive coordinator sucked ass.
Right.
He held on too long to that. He couldn't figure out why his defensive coordinator couldn't get his players to be able to communicate or line up properly. Then he hired another guy who still can't do it. And I get it. Some of that goes on the players, but as a coach, you got to figure out why these guys can't do their job. Why can't these? Because they have talented guys out there like Denzel Ward, who's blowing coverage because he thinks it's one thing and the other, and he can't properly pass off a coverage to a safety, or he thinks the safety's taking it. And it's probably more on the safety than Denzel Ward, because I think Denzel's played fantastic this year. But him and like Juan Thornhill, a guy that's been around for a long time, there's absolutely no reason that those two cannot communicate. Those two caliber play. You can't tell me it's because those players suck, because they don't. And I get it. Thornhill hasn't been what we hoped he would be, but you can't say he doesn't know what he's doing at all, because he's been on 2 Super Bowl teams for a reason. And then you say, well, Prefer wasn't very good either. And then Bubba Ventrone comes in. You're like, you're changing all these things. And so I'm thinking to myself, do I really want to keep Kevin Stefanski, because he surrounds himself with people that we want fired in a year or two? And because of that, that's where the trickle down's coming to me. Well, it's actually more of a trickle up, because I'm mad at some of these assistants. And now the way I start looking at it, I look at the Prefer to Ventrone. Ventrone was supposed to be this massive upgrade. I get it. What is it?
He was at first. His first year wasn't bad, man.
No. I'm not saying that.
Ventrone's coverage units were good. And that's what when I look at a special teams guy, that's what I'm basically judging you on, is coverage units.
Yeah.
If I judge you by the fucking field goal kicker, what are we doing? No.
Because a field goal kicker gets in his head, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to get him out of it. So I'm not doing that. I'm talking about the coverage units.
This year's been disappointing.
What do you think's changed, right? Because Casey, to your point, I agree that the special teams were good last year. So from one year to the next, obviously you have some turnover with players. I get that. But if the coaching was sound last year, why is it not sound now?
Well, when you're talking about coverage units, like I talked about it a little earlier, when you start playing football when you're in junior high, and if you're a good enough athlete, you're not coming off the field. You're doing your own every single phase.
Yeah.
That gets phased out the older you get, because everything becomes specialized. And if you are a special player, you start to get funneled in to whatever you are. But then when you get into college, kind of the same thing. When you're there at first, you got to prove yourself on specials. But after you're in a starting spot, you're off special teams. Well, then you get to the pros, and it's the best of the best. And you might have been the shit all this time. But now you have to play special teams and to buy in and stay disciplined and to not just do your job instead of being the guy out there just trying to make a play, and maybe you get out of your lane, and because you want to make a play so damn bad, but in doing so, sometimes you lose focus of your job. And then we're talking about the greatest athletes on the planet, and people, you'll get exposed in that way. But it's kind of hard to say because, like, if you looked at their application of their practice squad this year, it was loaded with gunners. They had as many special team aces as anyone in the league to start the year. So you look like the cupboard was very stocked, and it just, for whatever reason, they have not played sound. And and it's always the opportune times. I mean, they're like, you'll see a coverage unit, a rep or two where everything's perfect. But then in those high leverage moments, other teams seem to make the play on special teams. And I don't know, just not being focused is what it feels like to me. It's like not focused on the moment at hand and just buying in and doing your job.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at is, like, I feel like that was some of the issues with pre-first units as well. And because, like you said, that's when special teams don't go bad, or don't go well, things go bad. By not doing your job, not being focused, that's kind of, because it's not, you get what I'm saying. There's only so many different things you can do on special teams. It's such a limited scope of outcomes. So my thing is, like, do I trust the guy to make coaching changes? Because he made a bunch of changes this year, and I think that a lot of them were all bad.
Hard to find a lot to like. You're 3-10.
And I still think he's a good coach. I keep coming back to, I don't know if he's a good head coach. I just don't know if he's the guy to run the organization. I think he's a hell of an offensive mind. I think he gets the most juice out of whatever fruit he's given. He's won a couple of games with Jameis Winston, throwing the ball to a bunch of different people. If Jameis had a run game, I think things would be a lot different. I will continue to echo that. Like,
I didn't echo that last night. You guys let me down.
Dude, I
didn't get brought up once.
I was very much in my feels last night about it, just because I was just very annoyed by all of it. If there's a run game, it does change a lot of things.
And let's be honest, they haven't been able to effectively run the ball since week 2 in Pittsburgh 2023. It has been a full year now with an entire offensive coaching staff changeover, and they still can't run the ball. They can't do it. Like, they had more success from Gunn.
Yeah, they can run out of Gunn.
Right. But the whole thing that made Kevin Stefanski's offense in the first place was Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt under center. Baker Mayfield's using these play actions, using it for boots, using it to just get the defense to bite. And it's like, they can't. And they even did it with Flacco. And granted that the run game wasn't great then either, but he was so good at selling it that I think he still was effective with it. But they just can't. They can't do it. They can't. And it's really scary to me. Like, Jacob, you started off the show saying you're not sure how many of these offensive linemen you want back. And I know Wyatt Teller said he's working on an extension, but
did he actually say that?
He did say that.
Because I've seen one person say that, and I didn't watch what Teller said. I saw one person say that Teller said that, but I've not seen any Browns outlets report it. So
they played the clip on the radio today. It was in an interview. I'm not sure who was interviewing him, but he said he was working on an extension. Those were his words. So
I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with that. If you're telling me we're going to run the right side of the line back, and you get Teller back and Conklin, obviously I'm hoping DeJuan's healthy enough to at least be a swing. Then I'd feel okay about the right side of the line. The rest needs retooled, though. And it's not even just the players. Obviously that would help. The better players you can get, the better up front. But the schematics, man,
it's a mess.
It's not. You watch other teams scheme up shit with less. I can say that.
Yes.
There are less. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say the Browns have an impressive offensive line, but offensive line plays pretty shit across the league. And there are teams that have worse offensive lines who get more out of it in the running game.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Other teams are able to run the ball more. Yeah. With similar issues. I've seen absolutely enough of Ethan Posick. I just if I never see another snap of him,
he got blown the hell up, man.
Every run that was like not working, I mean, he got boom, blown up, boom, blown up, boom, blown up. And I'm like, dude, I've never seen somebody go from a toad to a prince and back to a toad so quickly in my entire life. And I appreciate it for what he did. It's awesome too, because it's not a great center class. There's a lot of tackles that may be guards, that may be centers, and guards that may be centers. So like you can get creative, but
because if they do keep Kevin Stefanski now, because like building on your point in total here,
I wouldn't lose my mind if they bring Kevin back. I will not lose my shit about it. I'm just not sure I'm there.
Right. I've called for them to be fired. Some part of me wants stability, but I just want to finish on this point about the Stefanski offense. What we saw it at its absolute peak when they could run misdirection from under center because the threat of the run game was so real. And so if you are bringing Kevin Stefanski back, you must fix this offensive line issue, whatever schematic issue, because you're not going to get – you haven't been able to run the ball in a calendar year. And I saw a Monday night, they put up the graphic that only the Denver Broncos have a longer active streak without a 100-yard rusher than the Cleveland Browns, right? And so that speaks for itself. But so it is fundamentally necessary for Kevin Stefanski's offense to be able to run the ball. Some offenses can rely more on the Bengals are just going to throw for a gazillion yards, whether they can or can't run the ball. Although Chase Brown's been doing good. So my point is,
I like Chase Brown a lot.
If you're bringing back Kevin Stefanski, you got to fix it in the draft. You have to. It has to be priority.
You have to go back. You have to do what got him the job.
Right.
Like, because if you do that, then I'm good with that. If you're telling me that's where you're going to go, I'm going to have my qualms. I'm going to have my issues, my worries, and I'm just going to be concerned until I see it on the field again. But I loved Kevin the first 4 years. Most of this year, I battled for him. It's just like, I think more than anything, I'm just frustrated and exhausted from the season. I think when it comes to a lot of these things, because last night I just shit all over Jameis Winston, really? Completely and utterly.
No, I mean, no, there's a lot of truth to it. There's a lot of truth to what you guys were saying. But when you're asking a dude to throw 60 times a game,
no,
I don't know what to tell you, man. He's going to have interceptions. He's going to have touchdowns. He's going to have big plays. He's going to have highs and lows. But the difference is that the team knows you're passing. The team you're playing knows you're passing. And it's just so fucking hard to have success. And that we've celebrated the shit out of Flacco. He threw just as many interceptions as Jameis has thrown.
Yep.
It's, your team around him was playing better, though.
Yeah.
Defensively, and, it was just a better situation at the time than what Jameis is in. But you have to be able to – look, man, it's the NFL, and it's a passing league. But you want to be close to a 40-60 ratio.
Yeah.
So you're going to pass more than you throw. But when you're living in 85-15 and the other team knows you are, and those 15 and Jameis is prone to turning the ball over. I'm not trying to – that's the thing. But if you limit his exposure and you make everything look the same and it's a 50-50 proposition for the defense and they can't play it they're just going to huck it and chuck it. You know what I mean? You can throw that ball 32 times in a game, and all we need from Jameis is 2-1. 2 touchdowns every interception. Mm-hmm. You can live in that world, and he can be that quarterback. But if you're going to drop back 58 times and let it go, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get damn near 400 yards. You're going to get 2 amazing touchdowns and 2 horrendous interceptions.
To your point, I heard on a podcast today that they laid out Jerry Jeudy's 17 game pace with Jameis Winston. He's on pace for almost 2,000 yards.
Yes.
At
What
this
did he
point,
finish Sunday with? Where's he at now?
he's third in the NFL.
940 yards,
940.
945. Yeah, it's
Bizarro world. Like it's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy. That is, I mean, think about that. Which, I mean, of course, it's inflated, like you say, Casey, because they can't run the ball. Can't run the ball, so they're just going to throw a billion.
944, yeah, 944.
Which is but still, it's a credit. It shows at least it's showing us what Jerry Jeudy's capable of. Like, I mean, that's the true bright spot of this entire season is that you might have yourself a wide receiver one. In my
I put
sixth, a cheap deal.
That was kind of my one thing going into the Pittsburgh game is there's Jerry Jeudy's no longer allowed to sneak up on you after that game you turn in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
You now are going to have every team's utmost attention. And they kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, man. That first catch is a 35-yard touchdown. And it's like he splits the safeties. It was a thing of beauty, you know.
Yep.
And Jameis throws better on the run than most people will give him credit for. But it was an excellent play. But that was the only catch he had in the first half. And he went. I think he had 29 yards on 4 receptions in the second half. Moved the chains twice. But this is now the assignment for him is doing that job when everyone knows you're that guy.
Yep.
That's a big difference than being able to sneak up on teams like he was able to in those first few outings with Jameis.
Sure.
But this is the proving grounds. You got 4 games left. Stay healthy and just keep working at that, because whether he is a 1 or not a 1 is inconsequential because he's a playmaker. And I still think you add people to it. And he's having Jerry Jeudy wouldn't stop me from adding another guy who I also view as a 1. You can't have enough weapons. But
Never.
just prove that you can be the center of attention and still thrive. That would go a long way to alleviating some concerns long-term about what else you need to add. What style of receiver would pair well with him and Cedric? And you can start to build a formidable unit. So that's all I'm looking for in these last 4 games. And you're going to get to see that Spagnuolo is going to give Jeudy that attention. He's going to get that work this weekend. So it'll be a good proving ground.
Casey, I figured it out. We're going to pull a U.
Not going to follow any rules.
That's what you think pulling a Casey is?
I go off script, man. I'm terrible.
Let's run it back, brother. Let's get Clint in here, man. He's not staying in New Orleans. Go get Clint Kubiak and get back to what you do. Get back to what you do.
God, that misdirection they were running on us had us chasing our tails.
And that's the shit that, like, I saw Jake Burns talking about it on Twitter and stuff. He's like, you know, they've gotten away from the stuff that made Kevin's offense hard to defend. Like, his offense was hard to defend, and it was because you just didn't know what they were going to do, because, you know, those boots and things like that, they would run that boot motion 3 or 4 times in the first half where they don't throw it, where they're handing it off. And then you kind of get lulled into it. And then all of a sudden he's like, I got it. Cool. And you know, which is what I do on Madden. Whenever I'm playing somebody, I'm like, I'll run the same formation and I'll only run one play in that formation, and I'll do it like 6 times, and then, then I hit you over the top. I don't even care if it doesn't work the 4th or 5th time. I'm just gonna throw it out there. But yeah, like, all right, I've calmed down. I've calmed down.
I've got 2 thoughts for you on that. Number 1,
this is Andrew Berry.
I get it. Number 1, this is a great running back class to restore your run game with, right? Like it could be like the Splinter meme, you know, where it goes from young Nick Chubb and the running backs, and then it's old Nick Chubb and a new young running back. That would be that's like my dream scenario, is to like invest one of those 3rd round picks you have in one of these guys who I don't know nearly enough about yet, but I will. He probably do already.
Not me. Jacob's way ahead of me in the game right now. I won't start my draft work until after Christmas.
That's what I do.
At number 2, probably the strongest endorsement I can give. Like, nobody throws more interceptions than Jameis Winston. However, the year before Kevin Stefanski got to town, Baker Mayfield threw, I think, one less interception than touchdowns. Like it was
Yeah, he
over
had
20.
22. He had 22 touchdowns and 21 interceptions.
And 21 interceptions. And that next year, when Kevin Stefanski gets to town and they install this run game that they liked so much, they took. I believe he got down into single digits. That
Yeah, he had
that
like
might
8.
be. Yeah, right. So you go from
26 and 8.
Yeah,
right.
26 and 8.
Right. So you go from 21 interceptions to 8 with the and like we
with
said,
the run game and the misdirection and the play action and the
Right.
easy answers. Oh man, now I'm getting
because that's what you're missing, man. That is what you're missing.
son of a bitch.
You just
They
can't.
fucking got me again. They wrote me right the fuck back in.
If you could just run from under center, man, because they know, and I think Pittsburgh picked up on that the only way the Browns were running the ball was from the gun, right? So when they're under center, they don't even have to think about run. The Browns average something like 3 yards a carry from under center running the ball, right? So you have no concern about that, and it
I
makes your
don't think
offense
it's that
completely
high.
predictable. And so, Casey, to your point, and Jacob, to your point, once you get predictable, you're not doing anything that Kevin Stefanski was so good at in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you want me to tell you something that I didn't realize happened last night when the Bengals won?
What's that? 5.
It's where the Browns pick right now.
Is that real?
Yeah, I did see that today.
Because it adjusts,
Today,
because
roll
like
out.
it changed the strength of schedule and blah 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 blah. See, when I looked at it going, because I was talking to Nick last night before the game started, I was like, oh, but the Browns were already ahead of both the Cowboys and the Bengals, and I was like, so it doesn't really matter, what one of the, it didn't matter who wins because we're not going to leapfrog somebody. That's what I was telling him. I always forget about the damn strength of schedule because like everybody has 3 wins. Like you either have like 10 wins or 3 right now.
There are 10 teams in the NFL with 3 wins or fewer, 6 that are 3 and 10,
There you
few
go.
that are 2, and you know what I mean. So
The race to these draft picks is going to be it's going to change so much down the stretch because so many teams are so close.
I saw some people talk shit about Mason Graham on Twitter today, and let me tell you something. If I see you talking shit about Mason Graham, I'm going to call you a dingleberry.
Hey, there you go.
Because Mason Graham is...
We gotta, you know what? This, in my opinion, I know this sucks, but sorry. Excuse me. I'm trying to mute, couldn't do it, could not do it. So
it was the way you were like, oh, sorry. And I was like,
I knew
what?
it was going to happen, but my eyes were too close. I couldn't do it. Anyway, we can't go through this season and not at worst get a top 5 pick. If they, I just think it has to be worth it at this point. And the strength of schedule down the stretch, aside from maybe the Ravens resting guys, is pretty good. So I don't know. It's possible the Browns don't win another game, but if that gets them into the top 5, I think I'm okay with it. Because they just need.
I still need to beat the Bengals. I need to beat the Bengals.
And the Ravens. I need those 2 games.
All right, fine. See, I was so engaged in this before.
Look at, we got to beat the Chiefs. What are you guys talking about?
They're only. Oh, let me talk about this real quick.
They could, though. It would be the most Browns thing of all time to just show up and just beat the Chiefs, and you just be like, all right, whatever.
Go.
I was talking to a friend of mine at work today, and he was like, "What do you think the Browns Chiefs spread is?" And I was like, "Like 9." I don't know. I just felt like it'd be 9 because of the way the Browns like the Browns were a 6-point dog to the Steelers, and that game wasn't nearly as close as the final score, in my opinion.
This is my guess.
So,
what's your get? It's 4.5.
It is. It's 4.5.
What's at home too? That definitely helps.
True. And I know the Chiefs have been playing everybody close, but I feel like I don't know. That's closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
we still got to play a primetime game.
I don't think we'll get to it. I don't think we'll be playing on Sunday Night Football.
We're supposed to be Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and against the Dolphins. Yeah.
Well, I don't think we're making that game.
No way.
I think they're pulling the plug, unless the Broncos collapse and the Dolphins are like in it, for a spot. The huge game this week is Denver versus Indianapolis. So maybe if Indy wins that game, it keeps the Dolphins' playoff hopes alive. But if Broncos win that game against Indy, it looks like it's going to be a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
AFC West is a bear this year,
Mhm.
aside from the Raiders. But I thought,
So right now the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick, right?
I believe so, yes.
They did the last I checked,
Hmm.
but it got changed yesterday, so I don't think I looked at it today. It is very odd that I have not looked at a mock draft simulator today. That's weird.
I would, completely unrelated, I would love to see Shadur Sanders throw to Brock Bowers. That would be super fun.
Mhm.
Just from purely NFL fan perspective. Like that
It
pairing
is,
makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
it is LA still, yeah. It looks like that.
Okay. All right. So I don't know what the Browns are going to draft high. I don't know what but I hope they get up there, because who knows what happens? Who knows how these quarterbacks shake out? Jacob, I saw you talking about Oregon's quarterback today, whose name escapes me right now.
Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel, and how
People called me a madman, and then the GOAT Dane Brugler went out there and was like, people are going to value him. Don't bet against him. And I said, look at this dude. This is a dude that's now broke Bo Nix's record. We talk over and over and over and over again about the NFL doesn't draft develop quarterbacks. Awesome. Then take a dude that's played a million games. It's like, I get it. I think he's 24 or 20. He's somewhere around there. I get it. He's maybe 6 foot, 200 pounds on a good day, has an average arm, but he puts the ball where it's supposed to be. He's athletic. He's smart. You can't throw many defenses at him that he hasn't already seen at least once. Could he be Bo Nix or Brock Purdy? Yeah, he could. Like, people want to. I said the Brock Purdy thing, and I think I upset some people. And Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, so let's pump the fucking brakes here and act like Brock Purdy wasn't the last pick of the draft. He's just an elite processor, and he got with a great head coach that was a good play caller with play action and misdirect. Son of a bitch. I did it again.
Hey, you know what? If anything good could come from this show, I think it's that. Because that's the first time I've heard you even advocate for blowing it up, Jacob. So, and look at you now.
I was mad.
He didn't make it through a full fucking show.
That's for you.
Hey.
I saw your face when I said that. You were like, yeah, watch this.
With that said, I mean, I kind of feel better. Like, I feel like this was therapeutic for me, because I've been bitching about vacation photos or whatever that is.
And I'll say this about the Deshaun Watson thing. If you were upset about him supposedly on vacation, whatever, anything like that, that's fine. I don't care if you're mad about that. I get that. But I don't give a fuck. I could care absolutely less about that.
The Browns are 3-10, and I'm mad about everything. So
I get it. That guy's already taken so much from us. Like, stop giving him real estate. He's already sucked the energy out of this whole franchise. So just going forward, man, ignore it. Yep. He's irrelevant. He'll never take another snap.
I agree. And so that's why I'm hoping, like best case scenario now is some type of Denver Bo Nix situation, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you get the run game back and you use Jameis as a bridge. I'm not sure. But I do think, I look at what Jameis has done. I saw a comparison. I think I'll leave you guys with this from me, at least. I saw a comparison between Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco in their first, how many starts? 5, right? It's almost identical. Jameis has thrown for 1 less touchdown, same amount of interceptions as Joe Flacco. And my thought there is just that they have taken 2 quarterbacks now just off the scrap heap. And I get the picks are bad. I get that. But they're showing you clear evidence of an effective passing game after having traded away your supposed, I mean, Amari Cooper just set a career high receiving yards, right? And I don't know, he's been up and down in Buffalo. Just had a pretty nice game for them, I think. But my point is, you traded away your best playmaker entering the season. Everybody would have said Amari Cooper's the best playmaker entering the season. And you still got this quarterback that's been leading the league in passing, and you did it the year before. So maybe you can take one of these guys in the draft, or maybe you can pick up one of the. I mean, I don't know. Is Sam Darnold going to be available? Because I'll take Sam Darnold. I watched him throw 5 touchdowns yesterday, Sunday, whatever day. I'll take it. I don't know. I just have a faith that they can figure it out with a quarterback that's less good.
Well, if anybody did tune into the Quincy Carrier show last night, that is one thing that I would leave you with is keep all your options open. It could be Jameis. They could circle back and Jameis could be the best available thing, but nothing has to be decided today.
Mm-hmm.
Jameis has, I doubt he gets all 4 games to make his case. I think they were pretty close to pulling the hook and putting DTR in is what it felt like.
That's what it seems like.
But I'm hoping they leave him in long enough to beat Cincy. Because that's what I need. I need to beat
That's
Cincinnati.
what I said last night.
And I need Jameis to be in there for that because he will do that for me. But he might be the bridge. That's fine. Darnold, someone you need to kick the tires on. If I'm Minnesota, I'm keeping Darnold because J.J. McCarthy had to have a secondary surgery on his knee.
Yeah.
I would be worried about that, and it'd be hard to have that guy in my building and let him go for a guy I don't even know is going to be ready, But if he's available, of course you kick the tires. You exhaust every aspect in the draft because if there's a guy you fall in love with, it didn't have to be the guy at the top of the draft. It didn't have to be the guy that everyone else is in on and thinks is the consensus one. If you find a guy that you think works in your system, by all fucking means, take him and you develop him. And if Jameis is the starter, why that happens, or whoever, but you do got to get on track and you got to get the guy in the building that you believe to be the quarterback of your future.
Fix the offensive line. Fix the offensive line and the run game.
I want a new running back to pair with Nick. But that being said,
I'm just saying, you could screw around till day 3 and just grab RJ Harvey for fucking nothing.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time. It would be a string of many that you took a running back late, and they just turned out to be awesome. You never know. We're gonna get
15 running backs that I think are gonna be starters.
Now, okay. I know we're at an hour. Do we have one mock draft in us?
I don't.
You don't have mock draft in you. All right. Next episode, mock draft at some point. Because why not?
It'll
be
fun.
Much. That's fine. We all have feelings. We all have things to say.
Well, we haven't been together, all 3 of us, in a few weeks. So we need to
reunite, and it feels so good. So with that, this has been a reunion. Barking Browns show. And Nick, Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns. 3-10. I don't care. Go Browns.
I'll just